Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Planet X News. This is Scott from the Nibiru channel. It is July 26, 2017. And this early afternoon, we have our special guest once again, Dr. Albers. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Scott. And you?
I'm doing pretty good. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, we want to put this whole drama routine to the side today and pretty much just pitch it in the garbage right where it belongs, because we have a lot of other credible information that we have to get to. But you know, this morning when the doctor heard of this ridiculous interview put forth by Daza, the unstable cameraman, and psychotic Chris Potter, she was very hurt by Chris's words, because apparently she was deceived for a very long time by this man, and she just wanted to make her own statement based on what they were saying about her. And I think she has every right to make a statement. Now, we have a lot of new people coming to this YouTube channel to hear this information, and they deserve the right to get the full story. And that's what we're here to do. So I know some of you have sent me some emails and have made some comments about this whole particular situation. But unfortunately, when people are out there slamming your name, trying to defame you, making up stories and lies, well, for the new people around the world that are coming to this channel, they deserve an explanation. So I hope all of you will just please bear with us and understand that. I've mentioned that before, folks. We have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of new people that come to this channel every single day. And the last thing that we want them to hear or see is all of this defamatory crap produced by these troll factions. And then, you know, the doctor's going to make a brief statement on what she feels about all of this. And then we're going to get into some other information here, because I did a video earlier this morning pertaining to this sunspot that's going to be rolling back around the sun, AR 2665, and it's once again going to be Earth facing within the next probably 2 weeks. So we have a very serious situation arising with that. On top of that situation, there was a magnitude 6.1 earthquake that occurred. I believe it was off the coast of Japan, a very deep earthquake. And we have some very serious concerns. And this sunspot is now venting on the backside of the sun. At least that's what we think is happening by some observations on the SOHO and LASCO coronagraphs. And we're going to go over that information. But Doctor, you know, leading into what you heard this morning,
Yes.
Pertaining to Chris Potter's statement, and once again, you know, this ridiculous debunker, Daz the cameraman, basically referring to you as an idiot at one point, and then referring to you as being, you know, possibly being a patient with mental health issues.
Mm-hmm.
You know, going back to the whole Chris Potter routine, I mean, you know, I mean, you prepared over 140 reports for this man. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he pretty much did a presentation on all of your reports for many, many months.
Yes, he did.
You know, you confided a lot of personal information to him, and you thought that he was actually your friend.
Yes, I did.
Now, how do you feel about after watching Daz's interview?
Yeah, it's very painful that Chris has done this. I really believed him to be my friend. I confided in him. We worked together for many months. I really trusted him. He did seem to want to protect me, but now I believe he has actually betrayed me. Because, I mean, from Daza, you know, I know who he is. I know he's paid to do what he does, and the work that we do means that we are going to be opposed, and I understand that. But from Chris, I feel complete betrayal, because he was my friend. I trusted him. I gave him, we talked about personal matters. He knew things about my life that I hadn't told anybody else. And I feel that he's betrayed my trust and our friendship in every way. And I find it so strange that he has changed like this. I mean, we were having a hangout just some weeks ago, and all three of us, and I said to him, Chris, you're not going to turn into a troll, are you? And he said to me, you shouldn't have to ask me that. So, and yet this is exactly what he has done. And I must say that telling me that there were things about Chris that were not quite adding up, that I didn't quite believe you at first, Scott. And this is why I actually would talk to Chris, and I would say, we don't, well, Scott sometimes doesn't think you quite honest. And because I believed in Chris, I really thought he was my friend. And now, as we can see that everything, all your suspicions have come to pass, you were absolutely right about him. And don't forget that in the beginning, when I started talking to him, I mean, yesterday he laughed about this, but he was making videos and telling people that he had seen an object in the sky, and that he knew then that he had to tell the world about it. And he was telling people to repent because Jesus was coming back. And he made so many videos over and over again. He would say this, and he would tell people, look at this is what's happening, and I saw it myself. And now he says he doesn't believe it. And I remember the first time that I sent him a little email saying that I agreed with him, because he'd been saying that this object on the ISS was not the sun, it was a device. And he acted so happy that I agreed with him, and that I was a physicist and I agreed with him. And the first few articles, he just couldn't wait to read the articles and do videos on them. He seemed so happy that I wanted to help him. And now suddenly he's changed it all around, and he says he never believed anything. He laughed when about the fact that I actually wanted to help him. I think this is the kind of betrayal of the highest order. And he did tell me that he studied acting and dancing. I never thought that what he was doing with me was an act, but now I think maybe it was.
No, it probably was. Probably was.
Yeah.
So,
I think so.
Real quick, just to, get a real quick recap, after many, many months of working with WSO and working with Chris and sending both of these YouTube channels your reports. I mean, we obviously know that WSO wasn't really publicizing your reports all that much. And then moving, towards Chris Potter and, helping him with the whole lens flare situation, mm-hmm. and then writing him professional reports. Then there came a time when you wanted to get in touch with me.
Yes, Scott, and I'm very happy that I did. But at the time, I was working with Steve Olson and with Chris Potter. Steve Olson, I was sending him all the same reports that I was sending to Chris. And Chris was making videos, but Steve wasn't. And also Chris was complaining that he was under severe attack from trolls. He didn't quite, sometimes he felt he didn't want to continue and so on. And I thought, no, I need help in getting the information out. And it looks like Chris needs help. At the time, I thought we were together on this. And so I decided I was going to contact you. I didn't tell Chris beforehand. I actually sent you an email, and then I told Chris that I had sent you an email. And then I saw how strange, I thought it was strange the way he acted, where he said, it was almost like, oh my goodness, you did that. I better sort this out. And he quickly contacted you and tried to introduce me to you. But I had already sent you an email, which you replied to. So it was just my decision to contact you. It wasn't Chris's, although he acts as if he was the one that introduced me to you. That's for sure. Yeah.
Now, I mean, they mentioned last night this whole dental supply, or excuse me, the dental teeth whitening industry, the business plan that I was going to get into in June of 2016.
Yes.
And I had mentioned this to Chris, and I had mentioned it to you, just basically telling you my story, how I decided not to venture into business, but to dedicate my time full time to this research and this investigation.
Yes. Yeah. Well, Scott, don't forget that I believe that this is my mission in life, and that is to tell people the truth about what is going on in the solar system. I have paid a price for that, but I wouldn't be here with you if I didn't believe that you were honest and really wanted to do the same as I do. I know that I mean, there was some misunderstanding that I talked to Chris about. But then we sorted that out. We talked about it, and I realized that I had made the mistake. I never talked to Chris about that, though, because it was nearly time for me to leave. And I remember you telling me that I shouldn't tell anybody what my travel plans were because you wanted to keep me safe. And so I never told Chris about it. And afterwards, there was he actually blocked me. And to tell you the truth, what had happened was in November of 2016, he blocked me. And he wouldn't talk to me for weeks and weeks and weeks. And then I thought you'd never talk to me again. And I didn't even know why. And then just before Christmas, he said he was sorry. And he said he wanted to put out my articles again. And he was so keen to, or seemed so keen to grow his channel, that I started actually writing more and more, trying to write an article every day for him. And I hadn't been doing that. I was writing 1 or 2 a week at that time because he wasn't around. He wasn't interested. And I actually started writing more because he really wanted the articles. So again, you see that the kind of lies, either he's lying now or he was lying then. And I believe he was lying then because he's really turned into a troll. And yes, there was this misunderstanding, and I did tell Chris about it, but we did sort it out, and that's why I'm here, and I'm very happy. And, you know, I would like people to know that you are a really decent person. You are really gentle and kind. You were actually the kindest man I've ever met. And I love working with you. And so whatever they have to say about you is really not true, Scott.
Well, I mean, we know that they've tried to defame me over and over and over again. And, Daza just simply tells half truths because that's his method of operation. And for all of the people that follow him, ladies and gentlemen, you are in for a rude awakening, and you really need to take off the blinders and stop following this guy because, I mean, in my eyes, he's like the devil's servant, deceiving everyone by just telling them complete lies. And then, he admitted last night in his own live stream that he suffered horribly from bouts of paranoia and was heavily medicated. So, they want to question your mental stability. And I don't know where he got his psychiatry and psychology degree overnight, probably in a Cracker Jack box. Yeah. But this man has absolutely nowhere to stand with making those types of remarks against the doctor, stating that, she suffers from a mental disability. She does not suffer from any mental disability. Is a very sound and stable woman who does a tremendous amount of research every single day. We're talking 10 to 12 hours a day, every single day, just like myself. And in no way, shape, or form was she ever brought to the United States to enter into a business deal into teeth whitening. Okay, this is just something that they make up, and it's just a farce. But just so everyone knows that these little operations that these individuals conduct, they're going to ramp them up, because the doctor is 2 chapters away from publishing her book. And there are a tremendous amount of people out there that do not want this. We all know how, these agencies react to, as they call them, whistleblowers. But in fact, we have every right to this information. Mm-hmm. It's critical information, critical observations. And there's nobody else out there, ladies and gentlemen, that's bringing all of this to the forefront. And then, whenever the doctor decides to start the public speaking, well, that's going to bring a whole new avenue to this ball game.
Yes.
Because now we don't have to deal with YouTube and their rules and their regulations, and the doctor can stand on a platform and she can speak what she wants to speak. Mm-hmm. And we won't have to worry about any of that. We won't have to worry about being censored by platforms like Google and YouTube. And even though she will continue, and I will continue to publicize our information on YouTube, that's never going to stop. But they know that we have plans to kick this up a notch, as they say. Yeah. And this was my idea months ago. Mm-hmm. Because I figured, okay, well, we need to start getting to more people in a faster way, and we cannot be censored. And the public speaking platform was the best idea that I can come up with. And it was also my suggestion that the doctor write a book and publicize it based on her beginnings and how she got herself into this arena. And she has almost completed this 10-chapter book.
Yes.
And she's worked very, very hard on it each and every day, on top of making her other observations and writing her reports and doing videos on her new YouTube channel, and also being a guest on these live streams. So now that we got all of that out of the way, how do you feel about Daz's comments referring to you as, having mental health issues?
Well, Scott, I guess that's the kind of thing that would come out of these people. When they cannot come up with a reasonable way of refuting the information that I am putting out. And basically, I am the only physicist who is talking about brown dwarf stars close to the sun. They would resort to this kind of tactic to defame me. To me, it actually proves that or reinforces my idea that the information that I'm putting out is so truthful that they are afraid of it. And of course, I don't have any mental problems. I think very clearly. I am a normal person. I may get sad at times. I am sad now about what Chris has done. But I don't suffer from depression or anything like that. I want to do my mission in life. I have always been very strong, even though I have gone through great difficulties in my life, including my child that was born with cerebral palsy. But I did cope with it very well, and she lived for 15 years. Well, it was very difficult, I must say. But I cannot say that I have mental issues because of it. In fact, I think it has strengthened me and my resolve to do the right thing no matter what.
Well, I would definitely consider you to be a very, very strong woman. There's no doubt about that. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, these people did use the doctor's young daughter, who was born with cerebral palsy, did not have a chance to lead a normal life. And they used that against her in a very vicious and disgusting way. And this young girl of only 15 years, the doctor's only daughter, well, she passed away. And the cerebral palsy took her life. But yet, they used that against the doctor to try to shut her up, to try to stop her, to try to put a roadblock in her way. I think that's very disgusting. And Daza was part of that. So was Jake over at WTF Sky. A lot of these individuals have tried to stop the doctor. It all began with Astronomy Live sending the email to the chancellor of the university, defaming the doctor to her employer.
Yeah.
And there will be a pending suit against him for that libel. It just has to be done. But you know, each and every one of you, we think of all of you not as just subscribers to this channel, not just viewers, but you know, a very large number of you are just like family and team members, because you're here with us every day. And unfortunately, we have to deal with this drama situation. And I know some people don't like it. Nothing I could do about it, folks. But the doctor wanted a chance to voice her opinion. And I hope you all respect that. It's very sad when you trust in someone, and from the very beginning, they were simply there to deceive you. And as each and every one of you listen to her reports, listen to her voice, listen to her knowledge, you can clearly see that this is a woman on a mission to divulge and disclose what's happening to our planet, what's happening in our inner solar system, what is happening to our sun, what's about to happen, and what is happening to our Earth. So I believe that she does have the right to make this statement. And it's not going to end. But I would hope that each and every one of you would just respect that fact, that she wanted to come on here this morning and this afternoon, and she wanted to talk about this, and she wanted you to all know how she was deceived by Potter and now being slandered by Daza, the cameraman, who just admitted last night that he has his own psychological issues and was under, you know, probably doctor's care and highly medicated. Highly medicated. If you haven't watched the video I produced, the live stream this morning, go back and watch it. Some good information there. Anyways, Doctor, is there anything else that you wanted to mention before we jump over into more information on this sunspot?
Well, I'd just like to thank you for your support, Scott. You know, as you know, I'm very saddened and hurt by the fact that Chris is behaving in this way. But I guess he is showing who he really is, and we have to accept that and just go on and do the work that God has assigned to us to do. And I believe that if this work is indeed from God, that nothing will be able to stop it. Because God wants people to know the truth about what's going on. And I believe that he has given both of us this mission. And if it is God indeed, they can say whatever they want. They will not be able to stop it.
Correct. Absolutely correct. Now, listen, ladies and gentlemen, moving forward here, I have some great concerns. The doctor has some great concerns. Over the course of the last couple of days, we've been discussing this sunspot, the CME that exploded a few days ago. And this is in direct relation to the large sunspot that was Earth facing several days in the past. And a pretty massive CME erupted. And then just a few days ago, a massive explosion on the sun in the form of this CME exploded on the backside of the sun. Now, we don't have any type of direct 100% confirmation that this CME came from that sunspot AR 2665. However, it is in the position where this CME came from. And this was the big one that came on the 23rd of July. And now, making more observations of what you're looking at here is a coronagraph from the Soho and LASCO. And you can see this venting. And you're looking at it right here. I hope all of you can see it clearly. Right back here on the back side of the sun. And that is just about the positioning of that sunspot as it was rotating back around, from the front side to the back side of the sun. We're talking about Earth facing. Now, you all know the sun rotates. It's going to be, this sunspot's going to be moving back around and coming in from the left side of the sun, once again, Earth facing, in about 2 weeks. Give or take a day. And now we're going to be faced with this situation once again. And myself and the doctor felt that this was a very critical situation because we dodged a bullet weeks ago when this sunspot was coming around, and a massive CME exploded. It wasn't exactly Earth facing. We dodged a bullet. We dodged a bigger bullet as this last CME on the 23rd exploded on the backside of the sun. And thank God that it was not Earth facing. But now this sunspot's moving back around. Mm-hmm. And it probably has a tremendous amount of energy built up. We've made some discoveries, which we're going to publicize later on today in another live stream. The doctor discovered some things in some of these videos that you're looking at right now, like on the stereo imaging and the Soho, these coronagraphs, and also Prep Aussie down in Australia. He has discovered some things that are appearing in this footage and other footage that may possibly prove once again that these objects are around the sun, orbiting the sun, and creating the chaos on the sun that is directly affecting our planet. They're not going to go away. They're there. And, the doctor has been working on her book. She's been working on daily reports and also these observations. We've had so many people asking about her take on this upcoming eclipse. Mm-hmm. And she has written a great report on this eclipse. We're going to try to get to that today in a live stream, maybe early evening. I think it's something that all of you should definitely watch. And she's prepared a full report on it. But doctor, what you're seeing here with this venting on the back side of the sun,
yes,
it is pretty close to where this sunspot should be, correct?
Yes, I think it is close, and you are correct. It takes the sun. It will eventually, AR 2665 will eventually be facing Earth again. Takes about 29 days. But as you can see, the venting continues to happen. So these are energetic particles, density going out into space, and it seems to be continuing, which is very strange. Actually, it's very strange if you think that the sun is or is in the state that it was, say, 50 years ago. It's no longer in that state. The sun has basically been invaded by these objects, which are called brown dwarf stars. And these objects have very high magnetic fields. The sun itself is a magnetic object. That is, it produces a magnetic field, but this magnetic field the sun produces is not as strong as the magnetic field these brown dwarf stars have. Now, I did put out a report yesterday that explains what these objects are and how they are related to white dwarfs and why, therefore, they have such high magnetic fields. So the reason then that we are seeing this instability in the sun is the fact that these objects' high magnetic fields actually destabilize the sun's surface magnetic fields. So you can imagine what happens if one of these objects goes over an active sunspot. It's going to destabilize the magnetic fields in that sunspot. And that will lead to solar flares, of course. So you are going to get stronger and stronger solar flares as we get more and more of these objects in the sun's corona. We showed in the Henodi data that these objects are all over the sun's corona, and more of them seem to be arriving every day, and that the operators actually wanted to observe the arrival of these 5 objects that arrived the other day, and that we talked about that. I think it was from the end of June when they arrived.
Yes.
But these objects have been arriving, I believe, or at least have been coming into the solar system for about 100 years. And the reason we know that is because the sun's magnetic field started changing about 100 years ago. And why would it change? It would change because it was interacting with something. These objects are small, but they are very strong in terms of their magnetic fields. And they, like white dwarf stars, are able to draw plasma from the sun, and they do that through a magnetic connection. So this is the way they connect to the sun. It's through magnetism, through the magnetic field lines. So this is to be expected, and I would expect that it would get worse as time goes on, as these objects increase in numbers, because they do seem to be increasing in numbers. And the inner solar system is now filled with gas and debris that these objects have brought in. And why do they have gas and debris? Because these objects were once main sequence stars. They then started the aging process, turned into red giants, and they started ejecting their outer layers of gas. Why did they do that? Because they are no longer able to strongly ionize their layers of gas, their outer layers, because their internal energy starts to drop. It's like a star getting to middle age, and the energy starts to drop off. It's no longer able to produce the same electric field it could before. And at the same time, the electric field and the gravitational field seem to be related to the internal energy of the star. And this is what I gathered from observing these stars in the solar system. So both happen, that they are not able to ionize their gas clouds, and then they are not able to hold on to their outer layers of gas. And this is why stars then go into the red giant phase, and they increase in size to up to 200 times the size that they were as main sequence stars, having their fusion reactions. And then eventually, what is left is the core of the star. The core of the star is initially very bright. It's a white dwarf, and it still has some gas around it. That's the gaseous envelope. And then the star cools down, and people would then say, oh, well, the time it would take to cool down would be longer than the age of the universe. Well, there are two problems with that. First of all, the Big Bang model has been falsified as far as I'm concerned, because we have low redshift galaxies connected by dust to high redshift objects, quasars. And in fact, there are astronomical pictures of quasars with high redshifts within low redshift galaxies. And if you have high redshift and low redshift objects in the same place, that falsifies the Big Bang model, which is based on the fact that redshift, high redshift, means greater distance. It's completely falsified. So that means the universe doesn't actually have an age. It could be infinite. So that's the first thing. And then the next thing is the fact that the sun goes dark. And when I saw that the sun was going dark with the SDO eclipse, I knew that it was not powered by fusion reactions from the center. It was powered by fusion reactions from the surface, and it's electrical in nature. And the fact that it has electrical potential energy actually powers these fusion reactions on the surface, which are then cold fusion or low energy nuclear reactions. So the sun is not powered from the center. It's not hot in the center. And I don't believe any of the stars we have in the universe are therefore powered from fusion reactions in the center. They're actually dark and cool in the center. And so are white dwarf stars. And because they are not hot from the center, they will then take a much lesser period of time to cool down. So this is what I have observed by observing these objects in the solar system. I have been doing it now for about a year. And people, okay, Daza said that I am not an astronomer. It's probably a good thing that I am not an astronomer, because if I was, I would probably follow what they all have done, which is turn their backs on this because they're afraid for their lives and their careers. But I have learned astronomy from the time I was a student, because I wanted to be an astronomer, and I was reading up on it from the time I was in first year. So, and in these few months, I have learned a lot more as well. I mean, this is the way physicists work. Whenever you go into a slightly new field or a slightly different section, or you start doing research in a slightly new, not exactly a new field, but a new area, even in your field, you have to learn a few things. And this is the way physicists operate. So, but that's what people would say. And what Daza says is actually all the accepted theories that are used to blind the rest of the physicists that fall into believing everything that they've been taught from the time they are in first year. And this is one of the reasons why I was teaching my students to think for themselves, to think logically, that not all the theories that we are taught are correct. We have to think for ourselves. We have to put things together, and we have to base things on observation, not on the complex theories that are spouted nowadays that seem right to people because they are complex. That's not true. Even Feynman said, if you cannot explain things in simple terms, then you do not understand it. And that means that all these complex theories, including the theories especially in string theory, it's the most complicated theories I've come across, they cannot be explained in simple terms. Therefore, it's not really understood by most of the people who work with them. Okay, sorry, Scott. I think I'm going off topic a little bit.
No, that's perfectly fine. I mean, people in the live chat, they love intelligence, and hey, I mean, that's what they're here to listen to.
Yes,
they're here to listen to you speak and give your observations. And I was just showing some views of the SDO and the current views of our sun, and I'm just pulling up right now some of the X-ray imaging on the GOES satellite, the GOES 13, and showing the current condition of the sun.
Yes, that's right. So we have a huge coronal hole right in the center of the sun. The sun is now more than half a coronal hole. Now, just because you do not see that it's a coronal hole in ultraviolet radiation in the 211 angstrom, it doesn't mean that in terms of X-rays, we have the sun surface is more than half a coronal hole. And I said a few months ago, it looks like the sun is turning into a large coronal hole. And the reason for that is because of these objects. There is direct corroboration between the observations we have been doing, whether it's from SDO and the use of the cutoff lines, or whether it is now from the latest, which I thought was amazing, which is the Hinode data, which show that these objects are all over the corona. This is what we would expect. We would expect, because these objects connect magnetically to the sun and start drawing the plasma from the sun, because the particles then flow along these field lines towards these objects. We would expect this to happen and to keep increasing. And as you can see, that coronal hole has been increasing in size. It was not as large as this last month.
Yeah, this is a bad situation that we're looking at here with this X-ray from the GOES 13. It's looking pretty bad. I mean, you can basically see just a complete depletion of the sun's corona through this X-ray, and it's very concerning.
It is concerning, because then we are going to get solar energetic particles, which are basically solar cosmic particles, exiting these coronal holes and impacting our atmosphere. And when they impact our atmosphere, they increase the ionization of our ionosphere, and they create currents in the atmosphere. They create currents on the surface. They create currents inside the Earth. This is why our planet is warming up, and it's warming up more and more every day. And that creates changes in the weather patterns that can become cataclysmic. It leads to increasing earthquake activity and volcanic activity. And don't forget, if we have a super volcano erupting, it could be such a cataclysmic event that most life on Earth could die. So we have to understand that what's happening with the sun, what these objects are doing to the sun, is impacting our planet, our weather, and it may bring about cataclysmic events that put all our lives in danger. And the powers that be do not want people to know the truth or prepare. In fact, what they don't want is for people to question them and say, what are you doing about it? What are you doing to protect our power grids? What are you doing to protect our food supply and our water supply? What are you doing for the common person? And they don't want to be questioned. And this is the reason why they don't want people to know the truth. But if people knew the truth, they would put pressure on their governments to start protecting them.
Exactly. And we know that's not going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. We know it's not going to happen. We've been fighting this fight for quite a long time. The fight for truth, the fight for information. And it's just a pretty sad time that we're living in today, that we cannot rely on the governments that govern our laws and our land. We cannot trust in them, and that's just a very sad thing. It puts all of us in a very bad situation. And then you have people like myself and the doctor and many others who simply want to blow the whistle on this because, well, let's just face it, it's the right thing to do. Why lead people astray? They should have been discussing this many, many, many years ago. We know that they have made all of the discoveries.
Yeah.
We know that they have all of the information, and we all know that governments around the world withhold critical information for their populations.
Yeah.
And it's a shame. And, like, for instance, here in the United States, as well as many other countries, it's our tax dollars that keep these governments afloat and pay for the technology for them to deceive us.
Mm-hmm.
It's a double-edged sword, folks, and we're sliding right down both sides of it. So all we're trying to do is give everyone the opportunity to understand what is happening. No, we're not out here fear-mongering. We're just telling you like it is. We're telling you what is happening, giving you the opportunity to understand this, and possibly have the opportunity to prepare yourself, whether it be mentally or physically, preparing yourself, preparing your family, preparing your property. It's not going to be an overnight event. I've mentioned that many, many times before. This is something that will progressively get worse. And I mean, let's face it, already moving into half of the year of 2017, we've seen more weather-related catastrophes than we did last year. I mean, this record rainfall and these storms and the flooding and the landslides and the mudslides, the lightning strikes. I mean, so many people already this year over in the Middle East killed by lightning strikes. Is there something happening in our ionosphere that we need to know about? The doctor has touched on this point many, many times before. The fact of the matter is, it's slowly happening each and every day. We may have some little calm periods, but don't let that fool you. Don't let that fool you. Because just as you let off your guard, bingo, another event occurs. And then they downplay it. People like myself and the doctor and many others, we're always going to be ridiculed by these other factions. One person that I highly respect for his efforts is Dutch Since and his earthquake forecasting. The best in the business, man. The best on the face of this earth. And they come after him on a daily basis. The USGS, a government agency, trolls him, degrades him. Why? Because he is getting the information out there for people that live in these areas where they have these earthquakes, and he's giving them a forecast and a heads up. But yet he's slammed. They slam him for what he does. Why? Because he developed a way to forecast these earthquakes, and I think he does a phenomenal job. He does the best job on this planet. I think he should be in charge of a global earthquake network of forecasting. His information should be legitimately publicized around the world on a daily basis for everyone to have access to. But they slam him on a daily basis. Each and every one of the YouTube channels that are out there trying to get the information to you, trying to help you understand it, well, they get kicked in the balls. But we all need to support each other. They don't want that. We've got very critical situations happening around the world on a daily basis. We know exactly why it's happening. It's not happening the way that DAZA says because the earth is heating up. and more water is evaporating into the clouds. Therefore, you get more rain. Okay, well, that is kind of how the situation works, but it's not the root cause. It's not the root cause why we're having all of these violent explosions on the sun, even though the sun, does have these reactions every so often. The massive amount of coronal holes, the constant influx of this solar wind, the heavily charged particles penetrating all the way into the core of this planet, therefore heating it up, creating an expansion, and creating stress on our planet's tectonic plates, therefore inducing more earthquakes, stronger earthquakes, deeper earthquakes, and volcanic activity. Folks, just like the doctor said, if we have a situation with one of these super volcanoes, we're in trouble. We're in big trouble. I'm sure all of you understand that. I take what I do very, very seriously. That's why I've dedicated my time. That's why the doctor has dedicated her time. And that's why many others on YouTube that report on what they do, they've taken up their time to get the word out. And we should support each and every one of these channels in any way we can. And we all need to stand up and fight for each other and back each other up. We don't need to be doing these flip-flops back and forth. Oh, one day I believe it, one day I don't. Well, maybe the day that you don't is because you were influenced by somebody out there trying to deceive you. We know that happens. The fact of the matter is, we have issues. The doctor and myself are uncovering them, and each and every day we try to get this information out there to you so you understand it, so you can see for your own eyes. We don't hold anything from you. We don't lie to you. We're not here to make a bunch of money off of you either. It's a very serious situation that we're dealing with. Mm-hmm. Can I walk away from this today? No, I can't. Why? Because I couldn't live with myself. I couldn't live with myself knowing each and every day that more and more things are occurring, and I'm not there to uncover it and to blow the whistle on it. Doctor, how do you feel about that? Can you just walk away from this today?
Of course not, Scott. As I said, I believe this is my mission in life, and I believe in the truth. I believe in telling people the truth. People should know the truth. Hiding the truth from adults that is disrespectful to their own humanity. Human beings are intelligent, and they should be able to choose to believe the truth and to decide what to do about it. So to hide this from people, to think that they are too weak to understand or to take it, is an insult to a human being's ability to choose and to think. People have the right to know the truth. And this is what I believe. And I believe this is my mission, that God has placed me on earth to do this. And this is what I will continue to do.
I will do the same. You can guarantee that. Well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut this live stream. We're going to cut this off here very, very soon because we have a lot of other information that we want to put together and we want to get it out there to you today. The doctor also wants to talk later on about the eclipse that's going to be coming across the United States. There's a lot of talk about what's about to happen, and it's going to be a rather interesting situation the day that this eclipse cuts diagonally across the United States. As I've mentioned before, over the course of last week, started getting information in that, along the whole entire pathway of this eclipse, local and state governments are ramping things up. They say it all has to do with crowd control. Okay, well, that may be a possibility. But whenever I start seeing military movement, police movement, things of that nature, well, I always get kind of curious when I see the government on the move like that. I don't know about you guys, but that's how I feel. But the doctors prepared a report on this eclipse and a few other reports. We're going to try to get to all of them today. And once again, we're here to blow the lid off of this. That's the way I look at it. I'm not here to be silenced. I'm here to be heard. So is the doctor. Anyways, doctor, any last words before we go ahead and end this live stream and get back to business?
Yes, thank you, Scott. Well, as usual, I'd like to remind people that we are living in difficult times, and we have a creator who cares about us. And I think people should get to know him. This is a good time to look to your spiritual life, get to know your creator, because in the end, he's basically the only person who will stand up for us. And he's ready to help us. So I think it's a good time to do that.
I agree, 100%. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I would really like to thank all of you for once again joining myself and the doctor here this early afternoon. And once again, it does mean a lot to have each and every one of you here with us to absorb the information and help spread the word. Because the opposition is afraid of mounting numbers of people following this information and uncovering it. I think we owe it to each other as human beings, whether we know each other or not. We're all human. We're all sharing this land, this planet that God gave us to inhabit. We must protect it. We must protect each other. That is going to be our instinct. Protect what is ours. Protect what God gave us. But anyhow, anywho, and anywhere, please stay tuned, because later on today and this evening, we're going to be back with more live streams on reports the doctor has filed and some information that she's uncovered, once again, showing and proving that these objects are near the sun. And hopefully tomorrow morning, very early, we'll be back with Prep Aussie on more information and evidence that he has uncovered once again. So I'd like to thank all of you for joining us, and please make sure you stay tuned. Take care.